Parents are tired of virtual learning. Isn't that the truth? Vice President Pence gets the COVID-19 vaccine, and Tiger King Joe Exotic sues the Trump administration over his rejection of his pardon request. We've got that and much more coming up, and it starts right now. Happy Friday. Welcome to the news and why it matters. I'm Hillary Kennedy. I'm filling in for Sarah Gonzalez. We have a week until Christmas. I'm giving you an early Christmas present because this is the last time you'll have to see me because Sarah is coming back after the holiday. I know everybody's really excited about that. She's going to have some good baby pictures and baby stories, so we're really happy to hear that she'll be back.
And we have a musical tribute to Hillary coming up here in just a few minutes.
Oh, perfect. I can't wait. No, I'm actually expecting that now.
Oh, yeah. That's right after the show.
But two people who aren't going anywhere, thank goodness. Mr. Stu Burguiere, host of Stu Does America, one of our favorite shows.
Thank you for having me for your farewell journey.
You're welcome. And Pat Gray, host of Pat Gray.
Got a little dance routine planned for you later.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah,
I hope there's
so
like some tap and jazz, maybe a
kind
rhythmic gymnastics
ballet,
number. Oh, perfect.
Tap, jazz, yeah.
Good deal.
I've never seen Pat do ballet. It's nice.
It's a treat.
Something to behold.
Well, I wondered why there was a tutu off stage, so now I know. Perfect.
That's why. And some tights.
Cannot wait.
Yeah.
All right, so our whole kind of first conversation on the show today is going to be about what's going on with our schools and with kids and with virtual learning. So we're going to start off with the impact of school shutdowns and the switch to virtual learning. People are now saying, they've done a lot of studies on this, they're now saying it might take us years to fully understand the full impact of what this has done. So there are some parents that talked to the Daily Caller and described their children having failing grades, that they were feeling despair, their children felt invisible, and that they really just felt like they were isolated, being away from their peers in their classroom for months on end. Data accumulated globally, it shows infections didn't surge when schools reopened. But Chicago, Philadelphia, Boston, Topeka, San Diego, there's a lot of other cities. Those districts put off their plans to reopen in mid-November, and then they gave no set date for reopening. There's a woman named Eileen. She's a Latin teacher at a classical school in Maryland, and she said in some classes, students mute their audio feature to hide the fact that they're playing video games instead of paying attention. Also, big surprise there. She's saying teachers have difficulty holding students accountable. Obviously, that's a tough one. And then her daughter even wrote an article about her experience. And she said, virtual school is not real school. They're not giving us an education. They're teaching us how to not get caught using Google Translate. They're teaching us which websites will do your algebra homework for you. If the Board of Education doesn't take my education seriously, then why should I? And then the National Alliance on Mental Illness, they reported, that lack of social interaction, it affects adults negatively, so it has an even greater impact on kids that are just developing those social skills. So, Stu, what do you think? I mean, how can we help kids that are just stuck in this virtual school atmosphere?
I think by honoring the science, right? Like, this is one of those things where the science kind of sides with the fact that these schools should be open, that kids should be able to go to school. Certainly, as we go forward with the vaccine, this becomes even more a reality. But going back to the beginning, I can't remember, you can go back and watch it, or listen or watch it. There was a Joe Rogan interview, which had to be like end of February, early March. It was right before all this stuff started happening. He had, I think, Dr. Michael Osterholm on, who I believe is now a Biden scientific advisor. And he went through the whole thing and was talking about, hey, by the way, this is going to be pretty scary, crazy stuff's about to happen. But at one point, I think it was Rogan who said, look, I mean, we're going to have to obviously close these schools, right? That's going to be one of the first things that happen. And that, I think, connects to most Americans, right? If there's a dangerous situation, the first thing you want to do is remove children from it. It actually makes logical sense. And I remember thinking at the very beginning of this, yeah, geez, if there's going to be a pandemic, I don't want my kids in school. Over time, though, you learn about the virus. And even back then, Osterholm said, actually, schools are one of the things you probably do keep open because for various reasons, it doesn't seem to be hitting kids as hard. And also that you don't want if you have parents who are nurses and doctors, you want them going to work, not staying at home. So as a society, you probably want those schools to be open. So they knew that from the beginning. And as time went on, the evidence became more and more obvious, right? That this is something that was okay to do. There are some things that really do cause outbreaks, but does not seem like a serious cause of this, particularly with young kids, is school. So that has not stopped people like Bill de Blasio. And although de Blasio has actually been more pro-opening than a lot of people in New York City, but Cuomo and many of these governors who just want to kind of virtue signal that they're the ones taking it most seriously. And this hurts kids. It does. It hurts kids. We know that kids are basically not really vulnerable to this in any serious capacity. There's worries about the teachers. There's worries about lots of things related to this, and you have to take those things seriously. But it's been basically an effort to virtue signal with our kids' educations at the center of this. And it's been wrong from the beginning, and it continues to be wrong, and even more wrong as we go on.
Yeah.
It hurts kids, but it hurts parents too. What are they supposed to do when the kids are at home all day long and they're working? So many parents, both of them work, or certainly in single-parent homes, somebody's working. And so what are you supposed to do when the kids are home and you're not? I don't even know what people are doing in that situation.
Swearing a lot.
Swearing a lot.
Yes, a lot of swearing.
Yeah. And probably paying a lot for babysitters, childcare of some sort. And
tutors and
yeah.
And in that way, it's kind of created a two-tier society where like people who can afford a private school or a tutor or whatever are doing those things, while the other kids who can't do that are stuck at home the entire time. And this makes a big difference. If you go back to the Malcolm Gladwell's book, Tipping Point, one of his most famous books, one of the chapters is about what is the difference between what they categorize them very loosely as rich kids and poor kids? What is the difference? Why do rich kids wind up performing better in school and achieving more than poor kids? And what they find is, after studying it over the entire length of their school sort of careers, is during the school year, they actually progress at exactly the same pace. So rich kids, poor kids, exactly the same pace. But then it comes to summer vacation. They take 3 months off. The rich parents challenge their kids throughout summer vacation. They have them active. They're doing things. The poor parents tend to sit them in front of the TV and think it's the school's job to educate them. I'm not going to worry about that. And so every year they fall a little bit further behind and a little bit further behind. And by the time you're in 12th grade, there's a huge difference there. Think about what we've just seen. You now have rich parents who are sending their kids with private tutors and private schools and all of these things, and poor kids are sitting at home on their Zoom faking playing video games. Like, how is this going to turn out? It's not going to be. There's not a good outcome here.
You bring up such a great point, because that's what we want to talk about next. Actually, Wisconsin school districts, they started the school year virtually, and they have experienced the greatest enrollment declines. It's actually pretty shocking. So they did a study on it at the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty. This new study reveals that the ones that started virtually, they had a 3% decline in enrollment, which means the parents that had the money were putting their kids in these choice schools and private schools. So those increased by 2,700 kids a year, and public schools saw declines of nearly 36,000. It's pretty incredible. Now, the study also found the school districts in Wisconsin that started the school year with virtual learning. This appeared to be at the behest of a teachers' union and politics, not actually because of a local presence of COVID-19. So a lot of people upset about that. But I mean, I'm guessing this doesn't surprise you, right? That the people with the money are like, hey, well, my kid's got to get a great education somewhere, so they're able to move them over. But like Stu said, other kids are suffering. And
it's silly too, because it needn't happen. They should just be in school right now, because isn't Fauci even saying he doesn't want? It's time to get the kids back in school, and it seems like earlier he had said that they shouldn't go to school. And I think now he's changed his mind on that, if I'm not mistaken. It seems like he's played both sides of pretty much every issue since it started.
Can't keep it straight.
But even he is saying, go to school because they're safe there. There's no huge outbreak going on at school, and so there's no reason for them not to be there.
Yeah. Well, there's been a lot of negative things that have happened online that people have seen and witnessed and experienced doing all these virtual classes. And something happened recently, according to the New York Post. A teacher named Michael Brasky, he's a social sciences teacher at South Broward High School. He's accused of watching pornography while teaching a virtual class. So the video shows him sitting at a desk, looking down. You don't actually see any pornography in this video, and it is online. We're not showing it, but he's got this kind of little smile on his face, and you can hear a woman saying some things, making some sounds that alludes to the fact that he's probably watching something inappropriate.
Making some sounds?
Well,
Huh.
it's just a delicate way of handling this story. This is interesting.
I'm trying to be as gentle about it as possible. So the person who posted it was a former student, Elijah Ruby. He shared the video to Twitter, writing, South Broward High School teacher Mr. Michael Brasky watches pornography in class. The teacher is a known pervert who's made inappropriate advances towards students in the past. And then he tagged the school's principal, Patricia Brown Ruby, and he said, how can you let this happen? So she responded by writing, as a survivor myself, I would never ignore concerns expressed. Social media is not the best issue to address issues of this importance. Please encourage others to email or call me. They are loved and valued. So now they have launched an investigation to kind of get to the bottom of what happened there. But this isn't the first time. I mean, there was parents have walked in naked out of the shower when their kids were doing virtual learning. And I mean, there's just been all kinds of inappropriate things that have been caught. Are we just going to see more of this in 2021? Do you think we're just going to?
Yes. I will remind you that Jeffrey Toobin still employed by CNN. It's still happening.
Yeah, but he's taking some time.
He's taking some time, personal, family time
to
deal
really
with
delve into the whatever it is he's doing online there.
Right. I mean, look, this is bound to happen more often, obviously, with people in their house and cameras on them all the time. It does seem like the timing of some of these incidents are odd. Like, if you're in the middle of a meeting, like, can you wait until the meeting's over? Like, is that weird for me to even say?
Or teaching a class?
Yeah.
Maybe you could wait.
How about 3 p.m. to school? I mean,
right.
There's plenty of time for you to still go ahead. I just don't get it.
It seems like our teachers should be held to a much higher standard.
You would think, yeah.
People are getting away with quite a bit. I don't know. Mr. Brasky, I hope that was something you opened on accident. Maybe he can prove that it was a spam email. If it wasn't, I would use that as your defense if you're not going to tell the truth. One more thing. The New England Journal of Medicine has written an article and declares no more sex identification on birth certificates. They just feel like that suggests that sex is simple and binary when biologically it is not, according to them.
Wow.
Sex designations on birth certificates offer no clinical utility, they think. They serve only legal, not medical.
Can you believe
goals.
the New England Journal of Medicine is saying that gender is not binary? You're not either a man or a woman, a boy or a girl, male or female. I mean, this accommodation for 0.7% of the population, where we've turned ourselves inside out and upside down over it and are denying science and reality and biology, it's despicable. And I don't know why we're doing it. I mean, the trans community must have the greatest PR team in the history of this planet because we're just caving into absolutely everything they want right now.
You guys familiar with, is it Titania McGrath or Tatiana McGrath? You know who I'm talking about? She's like a fake parody woke professor girl who constantly tweets really super mega woke things, and someone who's it's a comedian that's like kind of critical of the woke thing. And she started a thread that I saw today, which was all of my predictions that have come true, and like this was one of them. Like.
Really?
2 years ago, she was saying, I bet they're going to soon they should take off gender from birth certificates. And here we are.
Here we are.
Like, she's a parody, and these parody things are coming true in very quick order. That's not healthy.
We're living in an alternate universe some days, it feels like. All right, so we have a lot more to talk about. First, I want to thank our sponsor, Keeps. Because have you noticed your hair? It's not looking as full as it used to. Losing your hair, it's not any fun, so let's talk about some options. You can go to your doctor for a hair loss treatment prescription, then you can visit the pharmacy, try not to go broke just to avoid going bald, or you can try Keeps from the comfort of your lazy boy. You're going to get the same doctor-recommended, FDA-approved hair loss treatment, but Keeps offers the generic versions for about half the cost. And one more thing that you're going to love about Keeps, it is all online, so you just answer a few questions, you snap a few pics of your hair, and then a licensed doctor will review your info and recommend the right hair loss treatment for you. Then it's shipped directly to your door. So why make any unnecessary trips to the doctor or the drugstore when you can do all that from home? So let me get you started with a special deal. Go to keeps.com/Y for 50% off your first order of Keeps hair loss treatments. That's keeps.com/Y. Keeps.com/Y. We'll be right back.
We gather here today at the end of a historic week to affirm to the American people that hope is on the way. And Karen and I were more than happy to step forward before this week was out to take the safe and effective coronavirus vaccine that we have secured and produced for the American people. It's a truly inspiring day. As the people of this country witnessed this past week under Operation Warp Speed, the first coronavirus vaccine is literally being administered in states across the country to millions of Americans. And make no mistake about it, it's a medical miracle. The average vaccine, I'm told by our experts, usually takes between 8 and 12 years to develop and then manufacture and distribute. But we're on track here in the United States to administer millions of doses to the American people in less than 1 year.
So Mike Pence got the vaccine live on the air this morning because he and his wife, Karen Pence, the second lady, they wanted to show that it's perfectly safe. They don't want people to have any fear about getting it. He even went on to say, be confident that we've cut red tape, but we've cut no corners when it comes to the development of this vaccine. It says Kamala Harris is thinking of getting hers soon. President Trump has not yet gotten the vaccine, but we have footage of him actually getting the shot. And then we also have Dr. Fauci, once again, talking about the vaccine. So let's take a listen to what he has to say.
This important symbolic vaccination of the Vice President of the United States and the Surgeon General of the United States, which is something we want to be symbolic, to tell the rest of the country the time is now to step to the plate, and when your time comes, to get vaccinated. Because when we're speaking to you here today, I often say it is really bittersweet. The bitterness is the fact of what the Vice President mentioned. We still are in the middle of a very difficult situation with record numbers of cases, hospitalizations, and deaths. But the sweetness is the light at the end of the tunnel, which I can tell you, as we get into January, February, March, and April, that light is going to get brighter and brighter.
So do you think Vice President Pence and his wife having this done live on the air will help instill some confidence into the vaccine for a lot of people?
No.
You don't think it'll make a difference?
No,
Wishful thinking on my part, I guess.
I don't think so. I don't think the people trust our politicians, and I hear a ton of skepticism from the audience about the vaccine, and I'm not sure why. They love Donald Trump. He is the one who cleared the way for this to be developed as fast as it was. He's the one that cleared away the restrictions and the regulations and pumped a whole bunch of money into it. He made this happen, and the record before now was 4 years with the mumps vaccine. This happened in 10 months. It's unbelievable. And it's an American company, I guess, with some German input. But Moderna's an American company, AstraZeneca, then you got Johnson & Johnson. All these vaccines, I don't think that American business is out to kill the American people. It's not good business to kill your clients, and your customers.
Yeah, that's a good
point. I'll get it when the time comes, unless they mandate it, and then I'd be resistant.
Change your mind. Yeah, I think that's true for a lot of people.
Yeah, I do like the thing where every famous person is like, you know what? As a point of leadership, I'm going to get this before any of the old people in the nursing homes. Just to show. It's not because I want it or anything in the middle of a pandemic so I can go to the restaurants and eat out all the time. It's that I want to lead. That's the whole thing. I mean, look, we're in a pretty bad stretch of this thing right now. We had 3,400 deaths the other day. 3,400 deaths. I mean, like, these numbers get so lost at this point. But like 3,400 deaths would make coronavirus for that day, that rate would be the #1 cause of death in America. It's as much as all heart disease deaths and deaths from all cancers combined.
And think about it. In one day, it's more than September 11th, 2001.
Yeah.
In one day. And that's happening pretty much every day lately.
Every day. And it's going to be like this for weeks and weeks. I mean, we're still, I mean, there's all these statisticians have come up with formulas of how to kind of project this stuff. And like, we're going to have 3,000 deaths for weeks, I mean, on average. So this is going to get, it's really ugly. And I do feel like I'm at the end of my rope like everybody else is with hearing about masks and distancing and all that stuff.
I want it to end.
It's just dead language, I think, to the American people. We need a solution like this. We are desperate for a solution like this. Something medical, technological, something that will knock this thing out in short order. And you know, I see the same skepticism I feel, Pat, from the audience at times. You know, this is something that I think if you look at it, that is one way to look at it, right? People get worried about any big, giant government effort like this. But this is the Trump administration. For our audience, this is the Trump administration.
Yep.
This is the way they did it was getting rid of regulations, right? Like this is fundamentally the type of thing we talk about all the time. An emergency use authorization, getting rid of all the red tape at the FDA without having to cut corners. Capitalism working together for a good outcome for the American people. These companies, you know, making things happen that we've never seen before. This is a victory for capitalism. It's a victory for Operation Warp Speed. It's a victory for the Trump administration. In fact, it may be the central point of his legacy. Right? If this works the way it is, how can you deny that he was able to do something really positive to stop this? Now, look, he wasn't the only one, but I mean, this is something I think Trump fans should be very excited about. And, you know, it's the rhetoric around it is just, it's very strange to me. You know, like the Trump is out there saying, like, look at me, we came up with this vaccine, and he deserves a lot of credit for that. And then on the other side, like people who love Trump to the day they die are saying, I'm not going to take that evil vaccine. Yeah. That's Bill Gates. And it's like, well, I don't know how to square those two things. I mean, this guy, you know, Trump.
And Bill Gates didn't develop it.
No, no,
So,
he likes vaccines generally, but like that, you know, that's.
Do you think it would help things if Trump got the vaccine live on TV, like the way Vice President Pence did, or do you think it would make any difference at all? Because I fall into the camp that I am not rushing to get it anytime soon.
Yeah.
But I'm that way about medical things in general. Like I have to be on my deathbed before I go to the doctor.
Right.
I will just wait until I like absolutely can't move. But I'm that way about all medical things. But I would never discourage someone from getting it if they want to get it. I think it's a personal choice. So I'm like you. If they mandated it, well then heck no, I'm not getting it.
Yeah, I definitely do not want them to mandate it. And like, you know, like I'm, as you guys know, I'm a COVID-19 survivor. I should be, in my view, last in line, as should Donald Trump. Donald Trump had it already. Like he's already like that. Then it's really, we're like wasting doses for pure symbolism at that point. And I don't think it makes any sense to get someone, or at least at the beginning when there's still a real scarcity of dosage to go around. I don't think people who've already had it should get it. But you know, as you point out, there's the polls show about 40% of people who are like, yes, first in line, I'll go day one. There's another 40% of people who are like, I want to wait a couple weeks, maybe a couple months to see if people start exploding randomly in the streets, which is an understandable instinct, right? This is new technology. I get that. And then there's about 20% who are like really skeptical and maybe a little more hardcore on never getting it. But we don't need everyone to get it when it's this effective. And that's the important thing. There's this debate about skepticism, and it's like, I think if this was a 50% effective vaccine, it would be an important conversation. I don't think it's that important with these numbers.
I think a lot of the vaccine thing is still left over from the autism situation.
Yeah.
You know, where people...
It's definitely connected.
And I was wondering myself for many years, because we had some really good friends who had 2 autistic kids, and the mother really believed it was the mercury in the vaccines that caused it. And a lot of people believe that. Well, then they took the mercury out, and autism's still happening, and so but I think there's a lot of skepticism from that, and there's just a lot of skepticism about vaccines in general. But this is our only way out of this thing. If we want to stop with the masks and the social distancing and nobody in the stands at football games, we
just
got
need
to
enough
embrace this.
People
right?
to take it,
I mean,
right?
let's get back
Not
to
all of us,
football.
but
I want football.
I want
how
football.
expensive Super Bowl tickets are going to be when there's only 20,000 people in that stadium.
Right?
I don't want to even think about it.
Yeah.
Focused on the important things. I like it. All right, so we got to go to break. I want to thank our sponsor, Omega XL. I spoke with my doctor recently about a remedy for pain, and she wanted to give me an injection. As you just heard, nope. That's not for me. So then I had a conversation about pain with Dr. McQuillan from Omega XL. So whether it's back, knees, neck, or shoulder pain, the underlying cause, well, it's likely inflammation, and you have to defeat inflammation or it can start causing permanent damage. Backed by 35 years of clinical research, Omega XL attacks the inflammation that's causing the pain. It's brilliant because pain relievers, topical rubs, those things just mask the problem. Omega XL neutralizes the inflammation that causes painful stiff joints and muscles. You know, the doctor said something else that stuck with me. She said, with my prescription pad, I can't write anything that comes close to doing what Omega XL does. That's good enough for me. So if you're suffering with aches and pains and stiffness, you need to try Omega XL. Let's get you started. Order Omega XL now. Get a second bottle for free. You can visit omegaxl.com/news. That's omegaxl.com/news, or you can call 800-844-4888. That's 800-844-4888. 800-844-488. We will be right back. So yesterday, I will admit, I was one of the people that called Dr. Fauci a Grinch because he was saying, you know, don't leave your homes this Christmas, don't travel. My wife and I aren't even going to see our daughters. Well, now he's kind of backpedaling a little bit because there were quite a few of us that were like, that sounds very Grinch-like. That's not very Christmassy, Dr. Fauci. So now he's saying, all right, you don't have to cancel Christmas this year. Let's take a listen.
So you have a surge upon a surge, and then before you can handle that, more people are going to travel over Christmas. They're going to have more of those family and friends gatherings that you accurately said are an issue. So if those two things happen and we don't mitigate well, we don't listen to the public health measures that we need to follow, that we could start to see things really get bad in the middle of January. So I think not only for New York State, but for any state or city that is facing similar problems, without substantial mitigation, the middle of January can be a really dark time for us.
Welcome to another flip-flop by Dr. Fauci. Because truly, I mean, yesterday, that's why we talked about it, because he had essentially said, all right, cancel Christmas. And now he's kind of changing his tune a little bit. Why do we keep putting him on television?
Well, I mean, I don't. Was that a flip-flop? He said that the middle of January is going to be a very dark time.
Well,
right?
We've heard that from Joe Biden, too, like a very dark winter is coming.
Yeah.
It's so bleak. And
I mean, it is. It is. Look, I think we all know at this point. This is why I'm so on the vaccine bandwagon, because we all know all of this, right? We all know we are in a difficult time. We all know that we have to do weird restrictions that we all hate. We all know that this is a challenging time for our country as far as mental health. I mean, we hit it all today. The economy and people just living and dying. All of this is on the table. We all know it, and we have absolutely no ability as a country to deal with it. We did it in March and April. Okay, we were kind of there, and then it got into the summer, and we were kind of there. It's dissolved, right? Like we have no ability to do it. We have half the country who's saying like we need to just go out and do what we want to do. We have half the country that wants everything locked down. Neither one of those are exactly right. And you know, we were talking about this off. I think it was off the air about small businesses. It's like we talk about small businesses all the time. You can't put this back together. The economy cannot be put back together. These small businesses, these restaurants cannot survive on Republicans, right? Like you need to have people who are currently terrified of COVID-19. The people you think are the most irrational people in the world. Those people need to go back to restaurants to make these restaurants work. Unless you want the government paying for them till the end of time. So, you know, we need to get past this stuff. And, you know, look, people are going to go to Thanksgiving. They're going to go to Christmas unless they have a relative who they think is really vulnerable, and then they'll be smart and not do it. But this advice from Fauci, they can't do anything different. They all believe that, you know, you should mask up and stay away. And it's like they've said the same thing 1,000 times. And I heard someone say this the other day on the air. They're like, you know what? You just can't say this enough. Well, you can say it enough. You know what? Because people stop listening to you if you say it too much. If instead they were smarter about this at the beginning, we can go back and relitigate that over and over and over again. The bottom line is we're totally screwed. Everyone's going to die unless we have this vaccine. End of story. Other than that, we're all dead.
Way to end it. Merry Christmas.
And you thought
everybody.
Fauci was a Grinch. Suck on that, Anthony.
Well, I wouldn't say that this is cheerful news either, but the Iranian President Hassan Rouhani recently boasted about his country's prospects now that Joe Biden is potentially our new president of the United States. He said he has no doubt that the incoming U.S. administration under Joe Biden will bow to Iran and rejoin the nuclear deal that was forged in 2015 when Biden was vice president. You know, Donald Trump removed the U.S. from the deal back in 2018. They've had a much tougher stance toward Iran, and Iran is saying, "Oh, well, welcome back. Let's chat again."
And he's probably right. They will bow to Iran. Look what they did when he was the vice president of Obama. They left a $1.8 billion on the tarmac for him. They will bow to Iran. They will. He's absolutely right about that. They'll probably jump right back into the nuclear agreement with them. They'll probably leave them extra billions of dollars on the tarmac again. I mean, who knows what they're going to do? But they're pathetic. The Democrat administrations are always pathetic on foreign policy like this.
The thing is, they just don't ever keep up their end of the bargain.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Meaning Iran or
yeah, Iran. Iran.
Both of them you're right on.
Yeah.
Democrats don't either. But yeah, you're right. They were horrible on Iran last time. There's no reason to believe that Biden's going to be any different. If you look at who the people he's putting in charge, it's all these, largely Obama retreads. They're going to try to implement the same sorts of misguided policies and downright wrong policies, honestly. I don't expect any difference. You kind of step back and you say, okay, well, and I would say you could count me among the group that was not confident that Donald Trump could handle the Middle East well. Like going in 2016, I did not think there was going to be a great amount of progress on that front in particular. Like, was he going to do a good job with the economy? Yeah, I totally see that. Has he even been to the Middle East? Does he know anything about the Middle East? I didn't think so. Well, who cares what I thought? Because you look at what actually happened there. He got more done there than the past 5, 6, 7 presidents combined, and he deserves a lot of credit for that. Has never really received it outside of conservative media, but that is a real piece of encouragement. And it's one of those times where we talk about this stuff on this show and all of our shows all the time, right? This conservative perspective on things, and that's the type of vibe we bring to the table. Sometimes, it's tough to tell which one is right. That's not the case with this. Like, we put in tough policies. We didn't give in. We didn't say we had to negotiate with the Palestinians. We didn't say we had to give them all of Israel. We didn't say any of that. And what has happened? Peace has come in the Middle East. There wasn't this all-out war when we moved the embassy to Jerusalem. And all of these countries have stepped out from decades of hatred to come to the table and say we're going to normalize relations with Israel. Of course, obviously, Joe Biden's going to get in and change that. It's insanity.
Yes. And just to show you how wrong they were, John Kerry was just saying a few years ago, there can be no peace. There can be no peace without the Palestinians. Well, we got a peace without the Palestinians. We got an agreement between Israel and the UAE and several other Arab states without the Palestinians. So it shows you how wrong-headed they were every step of the way on Iran, on Israel, on everything that's going on in the Middle East.
Yeah. Trump has definitely been spot on with how he's handled everything. And he criticized the nuclear agreement that we had that he got rid of in 2018. He said it was the worst deal ever, horrible, laughable, defective at its core. But we may be seeing it happen again. So not the best news. All right, so we've got to go to break. First, I want to thank our sponsor, New Calm, because dealing with stress, that is a daily struggle. I've tried tons of different strategies to help me manage my daily stress, like deep breathing. I've done massage. I take long walks outside. But the one thing that's worked for me so far, it's New Calm. Taking New Calm at the beginning of my day, it kind of helps set me up to handle whatever stress comes at me, whether it is my 2-year-old's meltdowns first thing in the morning or sitting in crazy traffic. Now, the difference with New Calm is that the tension doesn't derail my whole day or my attitude. So for me, I like to start my day taking it first thing so I can know that I'm giving myself an advantage right from the get-go. No matter what life throws at you, New Calm will reduce your stress levels. So now, instead of the day owning you, you can now own the day. And New Calm is the only stress management system of its kind because it's clinically proven in over 1 million sessions to improve your sleep, reduce your stress, boost your recovery without drugs or side effects. The New Calm system, it uses cutting-edge neuroscience. It consists of 3 non-invasive, non-pharmaceutical items, all of which are included in your monthly subscription, and it costs less than a daily cup of coffee. The whole process, it's easy to use and to work into your daily routine to help you achieve better sleep, a reduction in stress, boost in recovery, all good things. So do what I did, own the day with NewCalm. We have a special link set up specifically for our listeners. So go to whynewcalm.com and get 50% off your 30-day subscription of NewCalm. And they have a money-back guarantee. That's whynewcalm.com. That's whynewcalm.com. We'll be right back. President Trump is cutting $200 million in health care funds, and it's actually for a really great reason. This is in California. They announced that they're going to cut $200 million in federal Medicaid funding to California over the state's requirement for abortions to be covered under their health care plans. So they're going to lose $200 million in funding for the upcoming quarter because they don't allow people to decline abortion coverage. They're saying California is violating the anti-discrimination law. It's the Weldon Act. It prevents insurers from punishment for not providing for abortions. HHS said it will continue to deduct this $200 million in Medicaid funding per quarter if California does not comply. The Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar said that the federal government has attempted to work with California to fix the policy, but the state refused to work to take corrective action. So now they're taking action to hold them accountable. What do you think?
It's about time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's surprising how many people worship at the altar of abortion. And I don't really know why. I guess it brings in money to the coffers of Democrats. And they love it. They seem to love abortion more than virtually anything else on this planet and defend it more staunchly than anything else. So it's nice to see that whole industry dealt a blow from time to time.
Agreed.
Yeah, it is the one thing they basically won't let you in the Democratic Party if you believe. Like they just
Seriously,
basically don't want you.
You've got no place anymore.
They've said that outwardly, like no, you have no place here if you're not pro-choice. And again, pro-choice is the greatest piece of advertising propaganda in history. It's not about choice. Like It's about the human life. Like no one, if it's not a human life, no one cares if you abort it. No one, no conservative, no religious person cares if you remove a tumor from your body, right? Like we care if you kill a living thing. Like that's kind of the weird thing we have going on. I know it's a crazy viewpoint. Look, I think Trump's been very consistent and good on this topic, especially with his words, so being supportive of pro-life causes. I think at some level you wonder if because Trump is tied to it that people can't actually think about it anymore. It seems like we have so many issues like that. Whatever side Trump's on, anyone on the left automatically is just like reflexively against it. So I really appreciate his support here, but like it's such a tough one to break. I mean, I remember there's been talk show hosts who have like banned it from their shows because they never think they can get anywhere on it. And I understand that. To me though, and we've talked about this before, Pat, it's just too important of an issue.
Yes.
It's the issue of our time. It's the one thing like, if our taxes went to 75%, that would really suck. But I mean, I'd trade that for saving millions and millions of babies. And I don't think it's not even a thing you have to think about. Obviously, we would trade the lives of millions and millions of babies for almost any other policy goal. It's one of the most immoral things our country does, and at some point it will be seen that way. Yeah. But we're not there yet, unfortunately.
Maybe what we have to do is focus only on black babies, because Black Lives Matter, and they believe that. All right, well then let's save more of them. How about that? How about having more black babies born than aborted in New York City, for instance, where right now it's the other way around. More aborted than born. And 80% of Planned Parenthood locations are in predominantly black neighborhoods. I mean, there's a lot of things that we could focus on that may turn this thing around a little bit if we did it right, but we're not very good at PR.
Yeah. Well, President Trump, he's made some major strides, and we thank him for that for sure. Did either of you see Tiger King on Netflix?
Yes.
I think you both did.
I watched. You watched only a little bit.
I watched one or two.
So you're like me. I only saw a little bit myself.
Yeah.
So Joe Exotic, the Tiger King, he filed suit against the United States Department of Justice, and specifically that department's acting pardon attorney, over the Trump administration's decision to reject his application for a full pardon. So they got the pardon request, and then less than a week after it was filed, they were like, nope, sorry, no pardon. But the lawsuit even cites the president's son, Donald Trump Jr., as a public Joe Exotic fan. So he was like, hey, I mean, I know you guys like me. So he's serving a 22-year sentence for his role in the multi-state murder for hire plot against Carol Baskin, who I think in the court of public opinion probably seems to have had something to do with her husband's disappearance. But who knows?
It does.
She was on Dancing with the Stars, so I mean, it hasn't hurt
Was
her
she
any.
really?
Yeah.
Wow. I missed out, I guess.
This is a good show. I mean, if I'm Joe Exotic, I'm trying this, right? Not the lawsuit. I'm trying the pardon thing. I mean, you give it a whirl.
Yeah.
I think, there's a chance that Trump just might have liked the show, and you might have got a pardon. I know if I were president, I'd be pardoning people like crazy. I'd be pardoning everyone that I like, any friend that I ever had that I liked, I would be pardoning. Any former Philadelphia Eagle that happens to be in prison, pardoned instantly. Enemies of my enemies, pardoned. I don't care. They're murderers. I'd be using that pardon power all the time. I think Trump underuses it. Any show that I liked had a person who was on it, I'd be like, screw it, I'm in. The pardon thing would be fun. That would be the one fun thing you could do as president.
And it seems like the prevailing theory is that he's pardoned hundreds and hundreds of people. He's pardoned 27 people so far.
Yeah.
Oh,
27.
that's it. Wow.
Yeah, it's so I think he's got a little leeway actually to pardon people. I don't know about Joe Exotic, but there's people out there who might deserve it.
Well,
I do expect a little wave here before the end.
You would think,
there's talks about maybe he's going to do his family members and all these things. I think that is possible. It is, but you're right. He's just not a lot of high-profile ones. He's spent a lot of time on television pardoning people, but so people get this impression that's all he's been doing. He really hasn't done that much of it.
I mean, Jimmy Carter pardoned over 500 people in 4 years.
did he really?
Over 500. Yeah.
Wow. Trump, get on it. I mean, I don't know about Joe Exotic,
got a little leeway.
but I don't think this is necessarily completely done. They're saying his denial isn't valid because the request was not presented directly to President Trump. So he's alleging that wasn't forwarded. The formal recommendation wasn't forwarded to the president. So they're hoping that maybe Trump will take another look.
That's what he's suing on, like that maybe Trump didn't even consider it.
Right.
It's worth a shot, right? Like, Biden's not doing it. Let's be honest.
Biden will not do it.
He doesn't seem like a Tiger King fan.
No.
Yeah. But Trump, I mean, he does like entrepreneurs, people who take risks.
Yeah.
That's Joe Exotic. I mean,
He's a TV star. He would be a lot of press. Like, you could see Trump being like, yeah, you know what? Screw it. Let him out. Let's see what happens. I can see it.
Yeah, it's so crazy. Can you guys think of anybody else that Trump should pardon before he leaves? Assange has been tossed around. There's been
there's Assange and people talking about what's to say Snowden. There's a bunch of people in that category.
Bannon.
I would,
they talk about Bannon.
Yeah. I would not do that with
really,
Bannon.
no.
Manafort. I wouldn't do it. But I think there's some legitimate consideration he should probably pay to pardoning his kids.
Yeah.
There's no reason to believe that they did anything wrong. But I would not be surprised to see the left going after a Jared Kushner. Or even a Donald Trump Jr. or one of the other kids, and he never pays enough attention to Tiffany. I think he should just give her the pardon.
Anyway, just to give her some
Tiffany. She
attention.
just never gets on stage or anything.
She might be in jail, and we don't even know about it. It's possible.
All right. Well, Joe Exotic, I guess don't give up.
Yeah, why not try?
There's always a chance.
You never know.
All right, we got to go to break. We'll be right back. You're right. I mean, why not? Just give it a shot. If Trump likes you, he likes you.
Yeah.
So he does a lot of nice things for his friends.
Yep.
We asked you yesterday, who would you rather have operating on you, Dr. Jill Biden or Dr. Fauci? 71.3% of you said Fauci. I mean, if those were your two choices, I don't blame people.
Neither one are surgeons.
Yeah.
So
That's a good poll.
At least he knows a little bit about medicine. All right, the question today, who's more dangerous, the woke, the socialists, or the establishment?
Ooh, socialists have killed 100 million in the last century. I'm gonna go with them. Although, I mean, you can make a case for any of those groups. It's another good one.
I think socialists. Yeah.
Socialists, okay. Yeah, boy, the woke's up there with me too. All right, so thank you guys for being here. I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. We're going to be back after the Christmas break, the first week of January. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, Sarah's going to be back, so we are excited about that. Real quickly, if people want to follow you guys while we're on break, see what you're doing, where do they need to go?
Well, you're not going to see anything because I'm going to be hiding. But when I come back in January, we have a really exciting thing. We have the Georgia election coming up.
Yeah.
Stu Does America. It's on BlazeTV, at Stu Does America on Twitter.
Pat Gray Unleashed, wherever you get your podcast.
Awesome. Merry Christmas, everybody, and Happy New Year.